Tracking the pulse of the road and the future of flight. From viral trends to policy shifts, we cut through the traffic to bring you the stories that drive us. Your fast-track guide to everything on the move starts right now. From the Billionaire News Channel studio to Mellow 947 BFM. Sitting in for Paulo Del Rosario, I'm G. Barroga. And this is Shift Happens. Joining me today is CarGuide.ph Editor-in-Chief, Ulysses Ang. Hi, Sir Uli.
Hi, G. Sorry I couldn't make it last week. Alam naman natin the INC
there
thing
was a
happened.
traffic.
So there's traffic. Yeah.
But there's a lot to talk about today, so let's get it on. The way we move is changing faster than ever. From gasoline-powered vehicles to hybrids, electric cars, and smart mobility solutions, the automotive industry is entering a new era of innovation. But as technology continues to evolve, the challenge is not just about building more advanced vehicles. It's about making sure they remain safe, efficient, and enjoyable to drive. Automakers around the world are responding to changing consumer needs, tighter environmental goals, and rapidly advancing technology. At the same time, they continue to explore how innovation can improve the overall driving experience without losing the human connection behind the wheel.
From advances in safety and vehicle engineering to the growing shift towards electrification, the future of mobility is being shaped by constant innovation. These developments are also changing the way people think about car ownership, sustainability, and everyday transportation. As the industry continues to evolve, one question remains: how do car makers embrace new technologies while preserving the driving experience that many motorists still value? Joining us today is Steven Tan, President and CEO of Mazda Philippines. With years of leadership in the automotive industry, he has helped guide the brand through an era of rapid change while continuing to focus on innovation, customer experience, and the evolving need of Filipino motorists. Welcome to the show, Steven.
Thank you, Ulysses. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much for coming
Happy to be
over.
here.
Yeah, so Yuli and Steven, when I started, Steven was already the president of Mazda Philippines. And 10 years after, you are still at the helm of Mazda Philippines. But let's talk about your journey in the automotive industry. How did it all start for you?
About 30 years ago. So my journey has been quite lengthy compared to maybe my contemporary. In that time, from now, you were talking about shift. The auto industry, in terms of trends, has always been shifting. So this is not new, but the shift now accelerates. But my journey started in the middle of 1995, 1996, when I joined Ford Motor Company. And that was in Malaysia. It was new to me, and I've always had this habit of joining an industry when there was a change, and there was the financial crisis then, the H1 crisis. So I joined that in Ford Motor. And through the years, till my journey till now, I've gone through the regional office, working in Asia Pacific, been posted in the US, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and right now the longest is in Philippines. I got to say, though, that this is probably the most enjoyable and most productive time in my life in automotive. And between Ford Motor to Mazda and the history of how the two companies evolved is also been part of my history too.
Would you say, Steven, that being in the Philippine automotive industry for such a long time makes you, like, for example, have this very, shall we say, kind of different knowledge or different kind of, shall we say, like, would you say your insights would be quite different compared to, let's say, for example, an expat who would just stay here for maybe 3 or 4 years at the most?
I am so fortunate in that, not planned for, but the experience that I got before I came to the Philippines has been extremely useful. And I'm sure that if I had not had that background experience of Ford Motor, I was in product planning, global cycle planning, program management, in product plans that I can't discuss and talk about, but those were experience in managing programs, in the finance background, in marketing and in sales, that equipped me when I came in here by myself in 2012, just with a suitcase, with the order of just taking over the Mazda business. And it was the job of taking over Mazda business at a time when Ford Motor Company was separating from Mazda, and I took it on from right there to do a transition. But the job in the Philippines, because of the environment and how automotive evolved in the Philippines, is probably, in my mind, the most dynamic in the region. If you compare to the other Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, although they're dynamic, they don't come close to how dynamic things changes in the Philippines in terms of how customers perceive automotive, how they use the product, how they consider it. Although Philippines has been in the automotive space for a long, long time, I think historically, I would say Philippines has more experience with automotive than any of Southeast Asia. For example, I belong to some sports car club, and they have deep knowledge of automotive that I'm very impressed with. So to your question, Yuli, I think you need a lot of experience, and one thing that would stay well with anybody coming in here will be resilience. I think resilience comes from anything more than any of the character you have, resilient and being gritty and be able to, withstand the constant change in the market.
Yeah, mentioning about the Philippine automotive industry, Steven, based on Campy report as of May, there are signs of recovery month-on-month on the month-on-month figures for the industry and for some of the brands, many of the brands actually, but the whole year-to-date data is still showing that, of course, there is still a slowdown. That's mainly because, for Mazda in particular, the same is true, but how's the business right now going?
Yeah, that's such a long topic that I could spend a whole day talking about. But I'll just summarize my opinion about that, right? Looking at the market from a month-to-month basis, in my mind, you may lose sight of the long-term growth of that. If you go all the way back in the 20 years of the automotive history, you will see some kind of trend. And a trend typically follows a lot to do with either the global financial situation or, more importantly, the local financial situation. When there's a new law, excise tax, much of what happens in the automotive movement and who plays and what market share is relies heavily upon policies. And very easy to miss out on policies and just look at customer affordability. So get into demographic. Demographic is the best predictor of how that movement evolves, and then lay on top of that the government policies and fiscal policy around that, and therefore you can be able to predict the trend of it. So the month-to-month has a lot to do with availability, right? For example, when the Gulf War happens or the fuel crisis happens, I'll call it fuel crisis happens, there was a real reaction to that. And it's not a new reaction. We've had, if you're in the space for the last 30 years, you've seen a reaction strongly to fuel prices. And in the Philippines, because we import all our fuel, your reaction is much more immediate. And with the reaction very immediate, the demand kind of soak up whatever the customer wants, right? And so you get a big spike on demand. But the next month, the supply exhausted. And so you get it on there. But that's not because of demand, that's because of supply. And so we're still going through the cycle of supply and demand, supply and demand, and the movement between and manufacturing reacting to EBITDA, hybrid law, EVs, and that adds like many layers of that. And the fuel price has a very immediate reaction. Fuel price goes down, segments shift. Fuel price goes up, segments shift, right? And it's also true that, whatever we talk about everywhere around the world, one thing is still constant. Consumer vote with their wallet. They always vote with their wallet.
It's very interesting, Stephen, that you did mention that it's you could say that the automotive industry can be a bit circular. It comes in a cycle, right? Yeah. So how would you say, or how would you rate Mazda's position in the market right now? Are you okay with where Mazda is? Especially, I mean, the other players are into electrification so much. Yeah. And then, so how is Mazda doing? Yeah,
that question asked hasn't been often asked. We are very pleased with where Mazda is, and it's intentional. We don't talk about it very much, and you can see the market share of Mazda is low. And I would say intentionally low due to that engineering where we did maybe not 10 years ago, but 8 years ago, because of the way that we know that the landscape is going to change. Mazda as a company redirected their focus on a brand strategy that says we have to go to a certain place where we can no longer become a mass market. right? A mass market, where the mass market is. And the world changes, the Chinese industry change, and they're very efficient. And so Mazda decided that, they harness what they're very good at, which is design, technology, engineering, quality. And those kind of things comes up from time to time about the quality of the car, how well it drives. Mazda still believes that, and I keep reminding about that, like Mazda still believes that in last month, global conference, Mazda believes that people love driving.
Yes.
Right? People love driving, they enjoy driving, and therefore Mazda is the best place to focus on driving. And people also love design. So Mazda also focus on design, being able to, for example, when the EV era begins, Mazda joined with a Chinese auto manufacturer they've been together for a long time. Like Chang'an Mazda has been at it for 20 years. So it makes sense for Mazda to say, we don't have to invent an EV. We have a partner that's very good in EV. But we need to design it, and we need to tune it, and we need to make sure how it drives. And so the EZ6 came out, and it won Car of the Year for design, right? Same car, same platform, being designed the way car drive. So Mazda is stubborn in that they want a car to drive well. And so in order to do that, you may have to go to a certain profile customer or the demographic customer around the world that says, we are going to appeal to that segment of the market that enjoys driving. So guess what's our best-selling car? MX-5, right? In a market that most people outside Philippines would think that, how can a sports car thrive in a market that has congestion, right? And I'm not revealing a secret anyway. Congestion happens in Bangkok, it happens in Jakarta, it happens in Manila. But why is Manila and Philippines so passionate about MX-5? It's because I believe we love driving more than anybody else, and we're willing to embrace the driving. So MX-5 became not an EV or hybrid or a car. MX-5 became something that you want to drive every day. And it's the same with CX-5, Mazda 6, and our latest large car platform, CX-60, CX-90. And they are meant to be driven. Although they're big, they're meant to be driven. So back to the question about where we are now. We are in a space where we are still continuing to progress and kind of preach, evangelize the idea of driving. And I see myself as being in the role of the ambassador of the joy of driving, which I talk about all the time. And that's why we have racing program like the Spec Series, where we promote driving, and we promote that good driving behavior, linear drive, the joy of driving belongs to the track and also on the road, where you race in the track, but you enjoy driving on the road.
All right. We can talk more about the motorsports program plans of Mazda Philippines, because right now we will take a short break, and when we return, we'll discuss how the automotive industry is evolving and what the future of mobility could look like for Filipino motorists. Stay with us as we speak with Stephen Tan, President and CEO of Mazda Philippines. We'll be right back here. Tune in to the Billionaire News Channel and Mellow 947 BFM.
Looking for the perfect escape? Discover Club Nalu, a serene beachfront retreat where stillness meets style. Nestled along the quiet shores of Bacnotan in La Union, Club Nalu is designed for slow mornings, ocean breezes, and moments that help you unwind. From cozy rooms and sun-drenched villas to relaxing spaces inspired by nature. Every corner invites you to pause, breathe, and recharge. Club Nalu, come as you are and leave feeling a little lighter. Book now at clubnalu.ph.
And we're back. This is Shift Happens. I'm G. Barroga, and you're listening to Mellow 947 BFM. Simulcast to BNC, the Billionaire News Channel. We're still here with Yuli and Steven Tan, President and CEO of Mazda Philippines. Before we go into motorsports, Mazda Philippines kind of had a breakup with Inchcape Philippines with, the Mazda C5 Pasig dealership. But for the benefit of your customers there at Mazda, how is, of course, the plans for them, the continuous service and all of that? How do you make sure, how do you ensure them of the service of Mazda?
We have, I will rephrase that, not a breakup, but a transition. They have, Inchcape came to us like some time ago, and they were going to focus on the brand, the business, right? And they will say, like, would you take Mazda back? And I said, I will, right? Because Mazda is our work. So the transition is happening now. We announced it in July 1. We will assume the operation of business sometime in August, subject to local regulation, business permits, and all those things has to be done. But we were committed, both of us were committed to make the transition very smooth, to the point where the customers wouldn't feel anything at all. I mean, that's our goal.
There's no change.
There's no change. We've retained the same people. We have elected to, and they have been very cooperative in saying, these are the people who's important to the customer. Would you take them? And say, we're happy to take them. I'm not new to Inchcape or C5. We have a relationship with them. I've had it since 2010. So that's a good 16 years that I've had with them. So I know how they operate. I know who the people are. I know the asset. I know the customer. And so this is like the best, I feel the best transition we've ever had with them. And we meet all the time. So I'm really happy with the opportunity.
On to the fun part.
Yeah,
so
on to the fun part.
We so love motorsports
yeah,
here.
I know. So you were the first one, Steven, to announce that you're going back to the track.
Yeah.
And it's going to be next week. Yeah. I guess, first of all, I would have to say, what is the role of motorsports for Mazda, especially in the Philippines?
Yeah, I would go back a little bit, and not known to many people, but Mazda has been in motorsports, grassroots, bigger and longer than anybody else in supporting motorsports. If you will go to Europe or Japan or in the US, the Miata Cup has always been around in motorsports. And it goes all the way back from like Cosmo, the RX-3, the RX-7. Those are just legendary, and they've always been tied to motorsports. I'm just continuing that legend, and I'm pleased to do that because, I'm very passionate about motorsports. And I feel that motorsport has a place in the brand. It's the manifestation of who the brand is about the joy of driving. So you can't go further than that or demonstrate more than that than to go into a track and be able to drive the car. And the car that we drive most often in motorsports is the Miata or the MX-5, all the way back from the past. And even the engineers in Mazda, every single engineer and all the executives, Moro-san and like Kudo-san, they all put on their suit and they go racing. And that's the racing where they say that the more they race, the more they understand about the car. In the same way that a lot of manufacturers say, testing the car on the track gives them the engineering. I'm not really there, but I think that the people who race are the ones who knows how it feels like and be able to go back into engineering and say, we're going to tune a car for the customer that will enjoy the driving. So therefore, it's why Mazda cars and MX-5 and SUV are so good to drive, and because of these people, that they really understand driving. And so motorsports has been a passion point of mine for a long time. And I'm very lucky to be able to put that into action. Even before I arrived, the Miata Cup, which is the sports car event of the Manila Sports Car, the Miata Philippines Club, they have been racing for 25 years. And this year is the 28th year. The Manila Sports Car Club is behind the Spec Series, which is the second series. And they've endorsed it, and they're the patron of the sports for the last 5 seasons. So this year is the 5th season. And you know what? We put them all together, and we call it the Fan Festa. So both Miata Cup and the Spec Miata raced in the same series. We start racing next week, July 18th. And it brings together the joy and the celebration of driving with Mazda fans and Mazda drivers to bring in. We open the track up, and we open that track up for all the Mazda drivers to drive in there. The driving is pretty intense.
Yeah. You know,
Right.
Sir Yuli, the Miata model, the Miata is such a well-loved model from Mazda Philippines. I even saw one, the first generation pa. It was during, I think you were there also, during the sports cars for a cause event early this year. There's a first-gen Miata with popping eyes
Yes.
that was, you know,
Yes.
in part
Yes.
of the display during that event.
Yes.
But it is also one of the biggest car clubs that we have in the country. So on the race itself, what can people expect during the race weekend on July 18?
It's not purely about racing, although racing is the main essence of the day. So we call it Fan Festa. We are the second Fan Festa outside Japan. Japan has their Fan Festa, and we have a Fan Festa. Our Fan Festa is to bring people together to enjoy and to enjoy the same thing, like celebrate the driving. So it's not, the Fan Festa doesn't happen outside the racetrack, although we had one before. But in essence, the Fan Festa always happen at a racetrack because racetrack is where you drive. So it has to happen there. But they come together and they talk about cars, they show off their car, they bring their families, their family comes together and they eat and they have a drink and they just enjoy the whole day. It starts at 8 in the morning, it finishes right about 5 where the sun sets, and we do a sunset parade. So we do the Fan Festa twice a year. Last year we did 4 times a year, but it became a little heavy. But it's about bringing together and enjoy the joy of driving anything you have. So we have BT50, we have CX60, we have 690, but the race, the competitive race is about the Miata. And we race it with, we are proud to be hosting the 2 races of the 2 clubs. Miata Club Philippines is the oldest one-make car club in the country. They are now as old as the car itself. So the car is 35 years old, they are about 30 years old. The Manila Sports Cup goes further. I hear they are 55 to 60 years old, right? So they have very deep knowledge about cars. And we belong to both cars, and they are very happy with us too.
Stephen, I have to ask. It seems that Mazda has its goals in mind, which is you want to celebrate driving. It's all about the joy of driving.
Yeah.
But aren't you concerned that, shall we say, the younger audience out there, they seem to look at cars simply as a mobility solution. They don't really care about driving anymore, the feel of driving. So how do you address that?
If I had one insight from observation, going back in the history, right? We had a discussion quite recently about that, right? Because the topic is unescapable. If we're talking to Manila Sports Car Club, that topic always comes up about what's the future for the club. Because the club is about driving the car.
Yeah.
And therefore, the insight was important in that somebody brought us all the way back to when watches came to being, right? First watches were like you take up, it's totally mechanical. And when the Japanese came in with digital watches, everybody said, oh, the mechanical watch is going to like fade away and obsolete. It didn't happen. In fact, the mechanical watch came back and became stronger and became a collector, become more valuable. And human appreciate things like this, mechanical. So it's my insight to feel that same with when music came from like vinyl, and those are totally analog, right?
Yeah.
The stylus came in and picked up the little grooves and amplified the sound.
Yeah.
So that didn't stay long because CD came. And then what happened? Streaming came and killed CD. What's going on now? I was in Ayala Mall last weekend. There was a huge fair of vinyl. I was so happy to see that because I'm from the old school. I love vinyl. I love streaming, I love vinyl, I love CDs, I have all of them. So the future mobility is, I think, this, Yuli. All of these will exist together. Mechanical car will come back, right? The act of driving a manual becomes more appreciated, right? We grew up in manual shifting. We thought like, that's the only way the car drives. Not anymore. Today, you drive an EV, it does everything, right? It talks to you, it takes you where you are, autonomous driving may come. But what remains, what goes back into that, there is nothing more engaging than to drive a manual car, being to shift, because the whole sensory experience of that, it makes use of your left hand, your right hand, but both foot. You need all that. You need the seat of your pants to drive it, right? You can't do it in an EV.
Yeah.
You simply cannot, because the EV is not mechanically created to do that for you.
We're running out of time here, but
Yeah.
for the final question, Steven and Yuli, we all know that Mazda and Toyota are like super friends when it comes to motorsports. And I think there was one event that Hashimoto-san actually participated or showed up in the race. But also for Toyota's part, they said that they wanted to collaborate with other automotive companies, Mazda being one of them. Do we see that happening in the near future, or what it is like right now?
I can't say that for sure. So we are good friends, and we see each other on track. 2 weeks ago, when I was in Clark, he was there. He was practicing his racing for, I think, this weekend. And I've driven his car, and he's driven my car. In fact, his name is on my car. I put on my helmet, and we enjoy the same thing. If you were to be in Clark next week or the week after, you will find that our paddock is right next to each other. We are in 43, 44, and they're just next to each other. So we are together. And I see that as very healthy for two car brands collaborating. They are giant. We are not so giant. At a very corporate level, many years ago, 5, 6 years ago, Toyota and Mazda made the decision to work on things together. And not only do they talk about it, they exchange share, like put money in each other's company to have the alliance. I feel that continues. I see evidence of that continue. But on the local level here, I am very pleased that Hashimoto-san enjoys the same thing that I do, into like the joy of driving, the passion of driving, and he is a major race driver. I'm lesser than he is.
Oh, that's cute. But thank you so much. He is Steven Tan from Mazda Philippines. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Sure, thank you.
And that concludes our roundup of the stories driving the industry forward. I'm Ulysses Ang.
And I'm Jinba Barroga. Join us again tomorrow on Shift Happens, your fast-track guide to everything on the move. Keep it here on the Billionaire News Channel and Mellow 947 BFM.